In this case, this problem needs a little bit of work before we can go to Google. Some of your problems you will already have a chart, and some problems you will have to build a chart based on the information. In this problem, we know that we have years. So we have year 2003, so years, and we have the elk population. Now, we know that the population in 2003 was 12,000. And we have another year, which is 2007. It tells us it's linearly and it's growing, a year at a time. So we could say that 2003 was year 0. And we could say that 2007, if this is 4, 5, 6, 2007 would be year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, year 4. And then if we go on down to 2014, if we follow this same rationale and we count it up, 8 all the way through 14, then 14 would be year 11. And that's the one that we want to make the prediction about. And we know that in 2007, we have a population of 15,000. So, before we had to use some algebra for this. Now we're going to use Google, and we're just going to build our chart. We're going to go in, so I'm going to pull up Google. I'm just going to go directly to Google. You can go through your portal. Maybe I should show you that first just to make sure. Let's see. So if you guys go in, you'll go through your portal. You have a Google account there. You may have another Google account that you can use if you want to. But if you go through your portal and you log in, you go just like you are checking your email. And once you click over there like you're going to check your email, it will pop up and it will look like my Google page. Mine just looks a little different than yours does. And you'll see these little squares. And so we'll click on the little squares. And we'll click on Drive. And we are going to be using Google Sheets to do what we need to do. So I'm going to hit New, Google Sheets. And I'm just going to start building my chart. So I know that I have years. And in that, I have 2003. And I have 2007. And I called that, instead of doing the years like this, we did year 0 and year 7. And we're trying to make a prediction for year 11, but we don't know anything about that yet. All we know is that the population of the elk is 12,000 and 15,000. So what we do in order to build this is we highlight the information that we're talking about, and go ahead and highlight the words also, because if you highlight the words, you get a nice chart, and this would be good for data presentation. So if you hit Insert Chart, when you do this, you're going to see a chart pop up, and it's probably not the same chart that popped up with me. It's probably not the one that you want. We're going to look for a scatter plot, and I'm going to go down here and say use the old chart editor so that we'll all look the same. So you might want to do that as well. And when I do that, it brings up this menu. It looks a little different, and I can go under Chart Type, and there's all these different charts here, and if you hover over them, they'll tell you what kind of chart they are. And we are looking for a scatter plot. That's what you want for this type of problem, a scatter plot. So I hit scatter plot, and notice it has 2 dots on it. It has this one and it has this one up here. Those are the only things that I have plotted. There are things probably between them. We just don't know what they are. So now if I hit customization, I can change things if I want to. I can put a title on it if I wanted to. Let's say I'm going to call it elk population. If I needed to do this for a report, it would need to have a title on it. And I could do, this says legend on the right. That's this over here. This dot is not a part of our graph. It's telling me that the dots stand for population. And then I can scroll on down, and there are other things I could change. This says horizontal axis. It means this horizontal line here, and the horizontal line actually represents the years. So I'm going to call it that so that it will put it there. So it put years down here. If I want something up here to represent the population, I can do this drop down and say vertical, and I can put population there, and it'll put population on there. So it's coming along nicely now. And I can go down, and what we want is we want it to do the math for us. So we're going to go down here and we're going to say that we want a trend line, and this is linear, and we know that it's linear because the problem told us that it was linear. Now, I could choose linear for things that didn't have a straight line, and it might have some dots that were on the line and some dots that were not on the line. But sometimes things are close enough to linear that we can use it to get a fairly decent prediction. So I'm going to hit linear, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to say, you know, for the label, I would like to have an equation so that I can make a prediction. And I'm also going to click this R squared, and if you take statistics, you'll learn a little bit maybe about R squared at some point. But right now, the R squared is going to give us an indication. It's right here, and the closer that R squared is to 1, the closer our data is to a straight line. So you can see this is right on 1, so our data is exactly a straight line. Now, not everything I give you will be a straight line, but this one happens to be a straight line. So I'm going to hit update, and here's my nice little chart. I'm going to move it out of the way a little bit so we can see what's going on, but here's my equation, and it says 429x plus 12,000. That happens to be my equation that I have. And all I have to do now is I need to, let's see, let's change this a little bit. I think this was supposed to be year 4, wasn't it? Let's see what happens. If I change year 4 and correct it, look what happened to my equation. Went ahead and corrected it in Google. And that's what we got when we did the algebra for this problem. So there's my equation, 750x plus 12,000. So if I ask you to give me an equation, you could say y equals 750x plus 12,000. And that would be a good equation. That would be exactly what I'm asking for. Now, if I want to make a prediction, what I want to do is plug in the number that I want for my prediction. And we wanted to make a prediction of year 11. And notice if I put 11 in here on my chart where I've highlighted, it changes my chart. So I don't really want to put that right there right now. I want to leave it out so that it doesn't change my chart. So I'm going to go way down here, away from my information, and I'm going to type an equal sign. And in Google, if you type an equal sign, that means you're doing math. So I'm going to type 750. And I'm going to type the asterisk. In math, that means multiply. And in my equation over here, I have 750 times x. Well, x, we said we wanted to make a prediction of year 11. And year 11, we said, was 2014. So year 11, you can see it's doing the math as we go, is 8250. And then if I finish out my equation as 12,000, it's going to give me the answer for year 11. So I know from my chart I can put one more thing in there. In 2014, in year 11, we know that it was 2250. And notice it filled in my line. It put year 11 in there. It's still got the year 4 in there. And it just added to my chart as I added to it and put another number in there for my prediction. So this gave us a really accurate prediction, and we didn't have to do any algebra. All we had to do was get our data in there. So reviewing, we put the data that we had in here. We highlighted the 2 that we knew. So if you had a whole chart, you would highlight the whole chart. You would hit Insert, Chart, and select Scatter Plot. And then you would make sure that you had the trend line selected, and you would want to say Use Equation. I'm not so concerned about this R squared being selected. I just wanted to show you that and make sure you understood it. Now, if I wanted you to just simply share it with me, you would select Share. I am probably going to require that you put this in as a PDF. So you're probably going to go up and give it a title. I'm going to call it Reagan. And I believe this ends up being one of your homework, so I'm just going to call it Homework. And I would go down and say File, Download as, PDF. And I can see everything that's there, so you want to make sure that whatever I've asked you to do on your homework, you can see it on this sheet, because if you can't see it, I'm not going to be able to see it when you put it in Moodle. Hit export. Notice on my computer it's saying downloading PDF, so we'll give it a minute so that it can finish. So on mine, and yours may be different, it may put it in a different spot, but on mine it put a menu box right here, and it said it's going to open it as Adobe. And then I can tell it, I can go in and say File, Save As, and I can put it on my desktop so that I can find it. The only reason I want to put it on my desktop is so I can find it and I can select it when it's time to upload it into Moodle. So if I were to go to Moodle now, this is on my desktop. I would need to select it from my desktop so that I could upload it into Moodle. So that's everything that you need to know about that to make sure that you can do this assignment and that you can deal with linear growth.